here in just another month be the beginning of about 155,000 people in Indiana going into rut. They'll stop shaving, they'll just eat a little, they'll sit out in the woods by themselves, they'll dress in funny clothes. Their whole life changes for a season. Some in early October, some in mid-November, but their life gets different. And if you're unfamiliar with the term rut, and I would imagine most of us here in the county are, but it's a word that is used to describe a period of time where a male deer, a buck, becomes more aggressive, more active, more vocal than normal because the breeding season begins. And it's a lunar phase where the female deer, the doe, comes into estrus, so the buck, they're ready to fight, they're ready to dominate, they're ready to breed, and it's called the rut. So interestingly enough, it seems like at that same time, a lot of people go into their own version of this season. Our family hunts together. And the opening day of deer season, actually the day before, we'll wash all of our clothes in unscented soap and hang them outside to dry because you don't want scent on them. We will game plan the night before, look at the weather, where's the wind going to be coming from, who's sitting where, who's going to be watching this field and that field, and we go through this whole scenario and we get it all planned, and then we go to bed at a decent time, and then we get up the next morning at ridiculous o'clock, and we go out into the darkness. But before we go, you shower with unscented soap, and you wash your hair with unscented shampoo. They really sell that stuff. And we use it, and you get dressed in your first layer of unscented clothes from the laundry line outside. Load up and we go. We get to the field where we're going to hunt, and we unpack from the vehicle, and you pull on another layer of unscented clothes, and in hushed voices we're talking quietly about, again, who's going where and who's going to do what, because you don't want the deer to hear your plan. Quietly close the doors, and we head off as a small pack down the farm lane that leads to the woods where we're going to hunt, one person after another kind of peeling off and going their own direction, whispers of good luck, hope you get one. And then everybody gets in their stand. Starts in my stand now, everything's good, because that's where most people get hurt, up and down in the stands. And we sit there, and we sit there, and we sit there. And they're right. It's coldest just before the dawn. And as the sun starts to come up, you're thinking, I can't feel parts of my body anymore. Why am I doing this? And the sun starts to come up, and you hear gunshots, and you're like, yes, that's why I'm doing this. And the text messages start, hey, was that you, Tyler? No, it wasn't me. I think it was Thomas. Thomas, was that you? No, it was Ethan. Ethan was no. Okay, let me finish my question. And it's this excitement and this anticipation. And I talk to guys who are like, they don't see anything, and they're out there, and they're like, I didn't see anything, but it was so awesome to be out there. I just love being out there in nature, and I just love kind of to let everything else go. And I'm like, what planet are you living on? Because I'm out there to get something and bring it home and put it in the freezer. I just wait for that one big buck. I'm hunting that trophy rack. I'm like, I've never seen anybody eat a rack yet. We're here to get something in the freezer. We hunt as a family, we process as a family, we put it in the freezer, and we share it all as a family. That's how we do it. But I'm telling you what, the best time to be hunting is when the rut is in. And they try to schedule hunting season that it fits there, but you can't always guarantee it. And when the rut is in, when the doe are ready to breed, the bucks lose their minds. And a deer that you haven't seen all year long looks like a moose coming through the woods because he smelled a doe. And that deer that hides in the back paths and you never see him, he's the ghost that just slips by, and occasionally you'll catch a picture of him on trail cam. That deer will cross rush hour traffic 5 lanes in downtown Indianapolis if he smells a doe. And so the trick is, when we hunt, we go out as a family and we take we'll put on our camouflage, and we'll take a small pill bottle and tape a clothespin to it, and then we'll put cotton in that pill bottle. And a lot of you know probably where I'm going with this, but some may not. And in that pill bottle, we'll take and we will put drops of doe urine in estrus. And people are like, oh, that's nasty. Well, yes, it is. I didn't say we shower in it. You put it in a bottle and you wait for that big buck to smell that doe. Now, it's not a real doe, it's a pill bottle with drops of doe. Sit out there and you wait in your camouflage, freezing in your stand. Oh, the last guy that wore my clothes was smaller. In my closet, but oh well. Camouflage yoga pants. This shirt will be a surprise. So here's what we do. We sit out in the woods, shrink-wrapped bush, wait. And we will put on camouflage gloves, we'll put on a camouflage face mask, because you don't want the deer to see you. And, well, I can't do that. And I know if you're a real hunter, you're like, you should paint your face. You shouldn't just wear a face mask. I don't know, if I had a face like yours, I'd cover it too with paint, but we just use face masks. And we sit out there with that scent hanging from a tree, and we wait and we watch. And I've seen it before, this buck that is so weird and to be that comes trotting through the woods and straight through the field. Right up to the can. Why are we talking about deer hunting? Because in what we're looking at today, I'm not so sure, but that Satan doesn't do the same thing to me and you. We started last week talking about spiritual warfare, and I want us to jump into Mark chapter 1, verse 21, where I was hoping to get last week, but we didn't get, because something incredible happens here. In Mark 21, in Mark 1, verse 21, it says, Jesus and his companions went to the town of Capernaum. When the Sabbath day came, he went to the synagogue and began to teach. The people were amazed at his teaching, for he taught with real authority, unlike the teachers of the religious law. So now get this. It's Sunday. Jesus is at church. He's in the middle of a sermon, and verse 23 says, the Spirit began shouting, "Why are you interfering with me?" Cut him short. Be quiet. Come out of that man, he ordered. At that, the evil spirit screamed and threw the man into a convulsion, and he came out of him. Amazement gripped the audience. And they began to discuss what had happened. What sort of new teaching is this, they asked excitedly. It has such authority. Even evil spirits obey his orders. The news about Jesus spread quickly throughout the entire region of Galilee. Some people will read this and dismiss it because we're so smart today. We'll say, it wasn't really an evil spirit. It was somebody who had a mental disorder. We know more now, so we know. But if that's true, then Jesus did not know what was going on in the world around him. And if Jesus didn't have a clue of what's going on in the world around him, probably shouldn't bank our eternity on him. There's a very real encounter that takes place between Jesus and an evil spirit, between God and the forces of darkness. It's spiritual warfare, like we started talking about last week. And we're not going to go back and recap all of that, but suffice it to say, we talked about where Satan came from. We talked about the fact that Satan is very real and does have power. But we also touched on, I think this is important enough, it bears repeating again today, the devil is not the antithesis of God. Satan is not equal to God. Satan was created as an angel and chose to rebel. God has never been created. God is the creator of all. God is without beginning. Satan had a beginning. Satan is not all-powerful. Only God is. Satan has limitations. Satan is not omnipresent. He can't be in multiple places at once. That's why he relies on his demons and dominions of darkness, because he can't be everywhere at once, so he needs help. He's not omnipresent like God. Satan is not all-knowing. Only God is. Which then means Satan cannot read my thoughts, your thoughts. Scripture says only God knows the hearts, our inner part of us, of men. He's not equal. Satan is not equal to God in any way, shape, or form. Matter of fact, he's the opposite in every way possible, maybe with this one exception. Satan would agree with God that there is a spiritual warfare going on. And what makes that even crazier is the devil would agree in something God has stated that many believers today don't agree. Satan and his hordes know this is a spiritual battle. And the enemy has to do everything that they can to infiltrate and to sabotage. Do you see that there? Sunday at church, middle of the sermon, and a demon starts yelling from the crowds, an unclean spirit in an individual. Have you ever considered the fact that the devil goes to church? Some of you are like, yeah, I know, I rode with them today. No, I mean the real devil goes to church, or his demons go to church. Why? Because this is spiritual warfare. He's not laying down on the job. He's active. The clock is ticking. There's something to do. And we talked about last week is his make that happen any way possible. If it's to create bickering, if it's to create problems in the church, if it's to get you and I off track, he's on. It's lies and sabotage. That's part of his plan, to divide, to infiltrate and divide. He plants false teachers in churches and in organizations, Christian organizations, to mislead and to teach false truths. False truths like marriage isn't solely sanctified to just be between a man and a woman. That's a lie that Satan's been sowing. to teach through false teachers that you can, if you try hard enough, be good enough that God will be happy with you. You can do enough good things to earn your way back into the graces of God. You can pray enough good prayers. You do good enough in this life on earth, and then you can go to heaven. That is a lie straight from the mouth of the enemy through the lips of false teachers. That is not what the Bible teaches at all. It teaches the contrary. It's about lies. It's about sabotage, and he wants to infiltrate churches and families. He wants to start rumors in churches. The Apostle Paul talks about that in his letters a lot. He's like, don't gossip, don't slander, don't backbite, don't. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2, the Apostle Paul says, I'm afraid that when I come, I won't like what I find, and you won't like my response. How's that for straight up? You don't need to understand Greek to know what that's saying. He goes on to say, I'm afraid that when I come I will find quarreling and jealousy and anger and selfishness and slander and gossip and arrogance and disorderly behavior, which is what he found in the church at Corinth. Why is that there? Because the enemy goes to church. And as long as he can sow discord and disunity and disharmony, as long as the enemy can keep the army of God, so to speak, shooting each other, it takes us out of the fight in the world. You and I cannot enter spiritual battle effectively when we think our fight is against the person on the other side of the room or a few seats behind us. Do you know what she said? Do you know what he did? I know why they did that. John chapter 8, verse 44 says, the devil, or Jesus says, your father is the devil, and your will is to do what your father desires. He, the devil, Satan, was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth. There is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And Jesus goes on to say, he cannot speak the truth. So he infiltrates, and he sits back, and he waits. I wonder as I'm reading this, how many years had that guy been in the synagogue? I don't know the Bible. But I wonder if this guy was sitting there for a while,